Welcome into a special edition of Game Night Live. Everyone, Dusty Litster and Dane Stewart, as always, brought to you by Hyman Associates and Western Governors University. But let's not belabor the point. Why are we making a midweek video? Well, because, Dane, I feel like our voices are finally heard. 17 years of me complaining. I got 3 officials back in 2008, I think it was. Now I feel really vindicated. Shot clock is going to be in the state of Utah starting next year. There'll be conversation of being sub-varsity and varsity. Right now, expected just in varsity boys and girls. A 35-second shot clock, which is just music. It's music to all of our ears. This is a momentous day in Utah high school.
Sorry, Dusty, you got a shot clock violation. You only had 35 seconds to get the opening thing in. So, you got to ramp things up. You got to move sooner, Dusty. No stalling here. Come on.
No more. Hey, one shot.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Look, Dusty, you're right, man. You've been clamoring for things. Apparently, the next item for the NFHS is the restricted area. We might have to wait a few years for that one. But look, let's get one thing just off the table here to start. Even response today, which people are excited. I mean, talking with coaches, I've talked to a couple of officials, parents and players. I mean, people are excited, except for seniors. Seniors are a little disappointed they're not going to be able to play in it, but everybody else is excited. But I'll tell you one of the things, this was not the UHSAA holding out. I just want to reiterate that point. I know we've shared that multiple times, but this really was the moment the NFHS approved it, then all of a sudden the path is there. And I think that a lot of credit deserves to go to the UHSAA for how quickly they acted. I mean, the moment the NFHS passed, everyone's like, man, do you think they passed it the first year? And I was like, I don't. I think this is probably 2 or 3 years down the road. And, when it all, gets unfolded and shakes itself out, months, boom, approved, and it's going to be implemented next year. So let's give a lot of credit to the UHSAA. The moment they could act on it, they did. And thank you. Cannot wait to have the shot clock here. As you mentioned, for boys and girls, there's some notes around the sub-varsity that we'll talk about. But, man, people are ecstatic. Coaches excited. Players excited. This is going to be great. Going to help elevate our game, and it's going to be phenomenal.
Look, I had faith. I remember the day that it got passed nationally, I was like, done. There's no reason not to go through this right now. And then last week, we had talked to some people saying, hey, that the executive committee had approved it. And then I was just, no, we're not screwing this up, and it's not going to pass, right? And they wouldn't give us the thing. But knew it would. I mean, it just makes too much sense. It makes so much sense. And let's talk about that real quick. So, again, right now, it is not expected, not put any expectation on anybody, not expected that you'd see it in sub-varsity, so sophomore JV games. It is expected to be a 35-second shot clock in varsity boys and girls as well. So, and then there's going to be the figuring out how they get the shot clocks installed and put everywhere. But that to me is small potatoes in trying to figure it out. And by the way, if there's some electricians that need help, we'll get you a tool belt too. So there's lots of ways that this is going to go through pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So, over the summer, I took a straw poll of coaches, ADs, officials, said, hey, shot clock, would you want it? What do you think the biggest barrier is? And about 70% of people came back and said they did want it. So that was kind of 2/3, which was interesting. I probably talked to, 20 or 25 people. So it was interesting. There were still some that it's not that they didn't want it, they just had questions about it, right? I don't know how we do this. I don't know how we'd solve for that. So, I think approving it, we'll work through some of those items, but even reaching out to people today, man, I mean, there's been a lot of positivity. I mean, one coach said, everyone is pumped. I did have a coach who said, my seniors are really disappointed. Everybody else is ecstatic. Cannot wait for this to come. And so it's going to be really interesting. I think, when you look at it, really the thing where it's going to impact games is in the final 2 minutes. When you talk about flow of play, I mean, I don't know that there's a lot of offenses that run 50-second sets, right? Now, inside of, the last 2 minutes, that's where we start to see that stall tactic come in a little bit more. I did have one coach who said, look, the team with the better roster is going to win. That's it, because you can no longer draw the game out, right? You can't reduce possessions. And I would say the team with the better players were winning those games 80% of the time anyway. But right. And so, that was the one feedback, and it wasn't meant, as in this is a bad thing. It was just, it has to change your strategy for how you execute. And I think, seeing those final minute, final two, I did have one person say, I'm most excited for you because the end of your game is going to be much better. I was like, yes, they are. So I mean, look, it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be fantastic. It will impact some of the real key moments, but really not a ton of them, because I do think it's final minute of quarters is where we've really kind of seen this get slowed up, and where this will really make an impact. And the fun thing too will be strategy end of game too.
And that's my thing, right? So double-digit game around that 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter. It is such – it'd be to steal a line from Seinfeld. It's the old man easing himself into a warm bath, right? Just nice and easy, here we go. And it just crawls to a finish. And basketball already struggles with its finishes, and I think this will certainly help it. We saw it this fall. They had the shot clock at the Utah top 15. That was great.
One of the things that I think is going to be interesting is, you miss a shot – from the sounds of it, the way I interpret it, hits the rim, comes off, offensive rebound, or it doesn't matter which team gets it. It's a full reset to 35. So you don't have to – it doesn't sound like you're going to be, changing it from, offensive rebound, we're going to cut it down to 14 or anything. There is a reduction in the shot clock on cases where, if it's intentionally kicked or fisted and it's inside of 19 seconds, then there's a reset to 20. On those types of things where it's like an intentional play, but missed shots, sounds like it's reverting back to 35. And so it feels like it's going to operate rather cleanly, which I think is good, right? To try to simplify this a little bit and not have too much nuance. Right. But there's some interesting aspects here. And the thing I love, look, I was doing a game this last week where a team wants to hold the ball for the final minute of play, and they had an opportunity to get to the rim. Player took it, laid it in. Other team goes down, turns it over. Team gets it back, goes. They finish with the bucket of the horn. Rather than stalling for 58 seconds and getting one look, they ended up getting two. And that's the thing that I'm excited for. I love watching college games and seeing 2-for-1 opportunity, right? You try to take this shot with 40 seconds left, so you have time to get a 2-for-1 scenario. And I think that's going to be super fun. The way you utilize your timeouts to plan for that. I mean, I think it's going to add a whole different strategy element that is going to be a lot more entertaining. People have wanted it for a long time, and man, I can't wait that it's here. And
yeah, it's gonna be great, and we'll have Vince put the link up to the NFHS that explains the rules, and it does not explain under 15 where it gets reset. There's some subs that go into that. We can get that figured out, but this is going to be absolutely great, and what it's going to do, again, it's the flow of the game that's going to keep moving it forward. The stall tactics just are going to be removed from it, other than 35 seconds, and it's going to be awesome. I think coaching's going to get better. This is a win for everyone. It's going to be absolutely great. But a big day here in the state of Utah, the approval of the shot clock next year. So one more state tournament where we're going to hit the last minute of the quarters. We'll see what happens. We sped them up over 17 years. It's been great, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, watch our games. We got a bunch of games coming up on Friday. Next week, we're loaded as well, going through all of the basketball here in the state of Utah. For Vince Francis, Dane Stewart, I'm Dusty Litster. Thanks for joining us and watching Game Night Live Rewind, discussing the shot clock in the state of Utah, brought to you by Hyde & Associates and Western Governors University.